Have you ever felt invisible for a day? What would it be celebrating? The one time that everyone around her is happy, there is a feeling of emptiness that you insist on doing this. This is a breakfast special, which was marked by a gesture of love, flowers, gifts, and hugs the body tight. They all turn to someone who has an important place in the lives of those who celebrate. Now, imagine that same scenario. You find yourself on the sidelines, watching it all happen, but I don't receive anything. It seems unfair, doesn't it? The reality is that many people who have, for reasons that go beyond the material, and end up being left out as they were supposed to be in a union official. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised. It's not just a sad story or the simple experience of exclusion, but also a profound meditation on what it means to be seen, appreciated, and acknowledged. It is about the impact of the unseen that one act can have on self-esteem, dignity, and a sense of belonging to someone who is. It is suppressed by the details that seem small, but it carries a heavy burden. Have you ever gone through this? Ever seen anyone being left out at the very time when they should all be together and celebrate? The feeling of emptiness, of not being remembered at all. You don't receive the recognition it expected. It is often loaded with a pain in silence. And the pain, the more it looks inconspicuous, is having an impact that resonates far beyond the moment. It resonates in your soul, in the way that we see ourselves, and the way we perceive the value of the other attribute. It gets me to the next part, because you're going to understand more about what happens behind those small actions that, at times, seem to be insignificant, but it carries a deep meaning. And more than that, let's think about what we can do to change that fact, so that no one else needs to feel invisible in a day. You had to be named after him. If this topic makes no sense to you, leave it here in the comments on what you played, or any experience that you may have experienced regarding this issue. Your being here is what makes this channel grow, and to reach more people with this kind of content, creating a real community of reflection and exchange of ideas. When you share your opinion, you're able to help with the strengthening of the space and inspire others to open up and think about the importance of recognizing the value of others, even in small actions, day to day. In addition to this, if you like what you've heard here, enjoy the video. It helps a little too much for us to continue producing this content for you with the utmost dedication and care. And of course, if you want to keep, you can get in the next few stories, tips, and ideas that we have completed. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing and be part of a community that seeks to spread empathy and respect and understanding. It is vital for us to continue on this journey together, always trying to turn little things into big changes. Right now, we're going to move on, because there's still so much more to come from this story, one that promises to touch the hearts of the audience. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, as it is the understanding of our own destiny, which is where the true transformation. Many of the times, we have spent years believing that our decisions are the result of a chance of the external environment, or even of a sort which appears to us to flee. But in reality, it all starts inside of you. Every thought, every feeling, every doubt and certainty that we have has a direct influence on the way you choose to go. And this is the chain of influence is very powerful, because it shapes our reality in ways we often don't even realize it until we look back and we can see the impact of every decision made from time to time. When we understand that our way of thinking, and it is one of the highest persons responsible for the journey, we begin to see things in a different light. We are not mere spectators of what is happening all around us. We are, in fact, the creators of our own story. This awareness is freedom, because it puts us in the center of the stage, who are responsible for each and every action, every choice, every step we take. And at the same time, it gives us a sense of power that a lot of people don't realize. The power to decide who you want to be, what values do we want to grow, and what is the legacy we want to leave behind. On the basis of this understanding, there should be a sort of wake-up. It's as if a light to ignite within you, revealing the shadows that often prevent us from moving forward. These shades can also be fears of old, limiting beliefs and patterns that have been enhanced over the years, sometimes without notice. And so it goes. One of the biggest revelations of the day, the truth is hidden. For everything that limits us, that is, for the most part of the time, with a built-in. In a narrative that is accepted as true, even if it is not in the password, is to be understood in a distorted our reality. To exploit the behind the scenes of our minds, we realize that many of the decisions that seem to be simple or automatic, they carry a burden greater than we can imagine. They are the bridges that lead us to have a profound impact on our lives, be it in the form of relationships, career, health, and mind. And at the same time, they can also be catalysts for change as we move to the question of its origin. When we begin to normalize in our own faith, we give you as an important step in the transformation of the mind is limited to a mindset, which further enhances the possibilities, one that connects us to the fact that is more authentic. This is a journey of self-discovery. The more involved challenges, it is also one of the most liberating experiences you can have. After all, when you find out what really drives us, we can make choices that are more aligned with who we are of the truth. We secure the outside expectations or standards enforced by society. It is during this process that we begin to understand that change is not something that is far away or unattainable. They are our ability to make decisions, think, and act with with awareness. And at the same time, the wake-up causes us to understand that this is not an isolated mission, but it's a movement that influences not only our history, but also the impact that it can have on the world around us. And at this point, the connection with the transformation of our mindset becomes even more clear-cut. Because when you revisit all of our own making, we have found that they are the basis for any lasting change. It is they who will determine how far you are open to progress, to learn how to reinvent it. Each and every choice, whether it be large or small, carries with it an opportunity for growth, in alignment with our inner selves more fully. And it is this harmony that gives us the strength to keep on going even in the face of obstacles most challenging. For this reason, when you begin to understand the impact of our decision-making, built in, it all gets a whole new dimension. What seemed to be a routine, automatic, turns out to be a powerful tool for transformation. And with that, we're looking to the future with a very easy to use, knowing that every step forward is now a seed to a reality more fully tomorrow. It is in this movement of self-discovery that we find the strength to break down old patterns and embrace a new way of life, more self-aware, more in tune with our values, and above all, our deepest truth. Now, I want to drill down further this discussion by exploring how these findings could change our relationship with time and with the people around us, and the impact we want to leave behind. Because after all, the whole of the journey of transformation begins on the inside, but it manifests itself in how we choose to act on and interact with the world. And it is this connection between the internal and the external is the one that really has made all the difference for those who are seeking a change to the genuine and long-lasting. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface. It is rooted in a deeper understanding of our own making, and the impact that they generate and the way in which we view the world around us. Often we are caught up in a routine of behavior, automatic, believing that the outside changes, may do all things, but the truth is concealed. This is the most powerful. It happens from the inside to the outside. It is as if it is a silent revolution, a journey of self-discovery that leads us to question all the things that, until then, it seemed to go without saying. When you begin to realize that our daily actions, however small they may seem, they have a direct impact on our reality, and everything takes on a new meaning. We know that the impact you want to leave on the world, it is not only about the big things, but small choices in the constants that determine the shape of our history and of the history of those that have been with us. This connection between the internal and the external seems to be a real bridge in the transformation. When we realize the power we have over our own choices, we can begin to see beyond the apparent limitations, and we realize that we are responsible for the impact we want to deliver. This requires a change of mentality. Wake up to the responsibility that each of us carries in the construction of a reality that is more in alignment with our deepest values. In this case, what once seemed to be an insurmountable obstacle becomes an opportunity for growth. After all, it is the very strength lies in our ability to adjust our attitude in the face of these challenges, to learn from their failures, and to persevere, even when things seem to conspire against you. The revelations come during this time of self-discovery will also lead us to reflect on the choices that we make in our daily lives. How can we turn simple things, like having a conversation, it was a career decision, or even of the way in which we deal with our own emotions, and that one catalyst for the change? This is a question that is about having the courage to face up to the truth within us, because a lot of times we are caught up in patterns that seem to be comfortable, but it's actually over the limit to reach the next level of evolution. And here comes the importance of revisiting our core values, to understand what really matters to you, and to align our actions with this purpose. This is in alignment with who have found the true impact of the one who transcends all of the time, and it leaves a lasting impression. The impact that we want to leave isn't just about grand gestures or the achievements of the outside, but on the consistency of our actions every day, and of a mindset that fosters the continued growth and an attitude that can inspire the people around you. When you begin to take action, and with this in mind, everything around us becomes one to reflect this change in its internal structure. All the people you know, even if in a subtle way, that there is an authenticity in your journey, and it turns out to be a powerful example. It's like if you were to build, step by step, a new narrative for our lives, a story that reveals the true potential that lies in every decision you made with the intention to do so. This process of transformation, so this is not something that happens at one time or another, but it is a journey of discovery, the settings and the learning set. And then, when you look at behind the scenes of this journey, we have realized that it is fueled by a deeper motivation, the desire to grow and develop, to make a difference and leave a legacy that goes beyond time. Every action, every choice, it becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil for the growth of our inner self, and that which is born from that seed, it has the power to impact the generations to come. In this way, it is essential to keep an open mind, to accept the revelations that come up, and be willing to change our own story, because in the end, this is the best evidence of real change. And this is where it all starts to make sense of it, to the tune of who we are, what we do, and the impact that we leave on the world around us. He comments that, "I'm on this journey too. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because because many times such a transformation does not happen just because we want to make a change, but for a deeper understanding of who you really are beyond the masks that they use on a daily basis. It is as if, behind the layers of conditioning, there was a spirit of the silent waiting to be discovered. And it is about having the courage to confront their own limitations, to the questions which always insist in coming, and it's also the fear that too often we don't really know what we carry in ourselves. It is a process of self-knowledge that is, at the same time, it reveals our true motives and vulnerabilities more difficult, and in this way, we realize that the truth is hidden. Oftentimes, that is what we face. Whether it's a decision that you are leaving, a move that seems scary, too hard, or it's a story that insisted on repeating it, even though I know that it don't work for us anymore. Turn on if it is not an easy task, as it requires a radical honesty with yourself. It's like opening a door that had, until then, had been locked up for a year of convincing the self-deception. When we begin to walk through this journey, we are faced with a sort of paradigm shift, a revelation that many of our beliefs have been shaped by outside influences, because of past experiences, or by a culture that too often reinforce the idea that success and happiness are a recipe unique, is a right way, and a magic trick. But, in truth, this is all an illusion. Each and every one of us has a single truth, a genuineness that needs to be awakened and cultivated with care. And it is the one that makes all the difference in our evolution, because it sets us free from the shackles that keep us from growing as well as genuine. The realization of this truth is hidden. We can begin to understand that the journey is a kind of transition from one sleep state to another with full consciousness. It is as if we were waking from a deep sleep, in which the decisions were made by the urge, the fear, or the need to please others. Now, with that, a mindset that is more mature and aware, we begin to reflect more on our own choices, to understand the impact that they have on our lives and those around us. This change in perspective is, in fact, it is a transformation from the inside to the outside, that it begins in the mind that is reflected in the body, the posture, the way they talk, act, and even feel. And in the process, we discover that the real power lies in our vulnerability, the courage to admit that we are still under construction. We still have a lot to learn, and this journey is a continuous process. We can see that this is a change of mindset that does not occur in isolation, but rather as part of a larger movement, an impact that reverberates in our communities, in our families, even in the way we understand the world around us. After all, when we started to transform from the inside to the outside, and our actions took on a new dimension, the more you align with our values and what we believe to be the truth. This is harmony between what we feel, think, and do, is the one that actually generates a long-lasting impact, because it goes on to reflect on a new version of ourselves, the more self-aware, more authentic, and more prepared to face the challenges with courage and hope. And this is where many of the revelations that come up, such as the small flashes of clarity that lights the path by showing you the true transformation, is not a finish line but a journey of continuous wakefulness. Each and every decision made on the basis of this new approach. This is a victory. Every obstacle is overcome. It is an opportunity to strengthen the mind. From this point on, what had seemed to be impossible, it becomes a matter of choice, the will to evolve, and embrace the change with an enthusiasm rather than fear. And in doing so, we begin to realize the impact we can have on the world. It depends, above all, how to connect to that deeper part of ourselves, that we keep as our highest truths and possibilities. Be it in our career, our relationships, or in the way we think about the difficulties of everyday life, this is a change of mindset is the one that gives us the strength to keep on going, even when everything seems to be falling apart. After all, it is the journey of transformation and is made up of small daily decisions. The choices, a lot of times, they seem simple, but together they create a new reality. And it is this fact as a reflection of a mind that has decided to wake up, who has chosen to look beyond the surface, and they made a commitment to live with authenticity and purpose. All this, certainly, is part of a larger movement, a revolution inside that manifests itself in the impact that we leave on the world. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely at this point that we begin to discover the power of truth that resides in our decision to change our way of thinking. This transformation won't happen overnight, but it is an ongoing process, a journey of self-discovery, which is about having the courage to challenge your own limiting beliefs and a willingness to genuinely change the things that don't fit. Many times, you'll see the kind of baggage in the invisible, which is formed by the stories we heard, and the judgments, which internalize and to the standards that we believe to be ordinary, in fact prevent us from reaching the next level of performance. When you begin to question those narratives, built in, it changes everything. It's like a revelation, silent, for a wake-up call that goes beyond the understanding of the rational. The truth that is hidden, that only a few have the courage to see it, is that we are all responsible for shaping our own reality. It's not a question of luck, circumstance, or by accident, but a conscious decision and an active attitude towards life. Such an understanding has the potential to cause a profound impact on the way we think, act, and especially to feel. And it's this change of mind, in its turn, has a direct influence our daily daily decisions, changing the way we view the challenges, opportunities, and even a loss. At the bottom, on this journey of transformation is a kind of a silent revolution, a change of paradigm, which leads to a new perspective about yourself. When we begin to understand that all of what we live is the result of the choices we make within, we move on to act in a more intentional. The small actions of daily are no longer the only routines, mechanical, and if you make the steps of the strategic direction of our growth, each decision shall carry a different weight as we are all aware of what we're building up to something bigger, something that reflects who we truly are and who we want to become. On the other hand, these changes also reveals behind-the-scenes workings of the mind. We have found that many of the limitations have been created by some kind of self-sabotage, which is barely noticeable. It is as if an inner voice often trained from early childhood in was convinced that we will not be able to, or that some goals are unattainable. But when you take the step to argue with that voice, and to challenge those thoughts, to open up the space for a new narrative, one that speaks of the potential, the possibilities, and the one most desires, it is freeing, as it is showing us that we have the power to rewrite history, to choose the one that will nourish you and how we are to react in the face of obstacles. And in so doing, we can begin to understand that the transformation is not a straight line, but rather a web of learning from the mistakes and victories in the shape in a unique way. Every experience, no matter how difficult it may be, carries a valuable lesson, which contributes to our development. So instead of being afraid of the failure, we've learned to see it as part of the process, such as key steps in the construction of a mentality that is stronger and more resilient. This change in perspective is what truly makes a world of difference, because it allows us to look beyond the present to design a new version of ourselves, the more you align with our values and dreams of the most profound. And it is precisely at this point that we begin to discover behind the scenes of a true transformation, because deep down, it all comes down to a decision not to take on more of what limits us. Do not settle for mediocrity, or the end of it that we often use to justify it. It's a decision to take on a leadership role, taking over the reins of her own life and of creating a new story. This decision, by the way, is the starting point for any meaningful change, as it feeds our motivation, and it gives us the strength to move forward even when the path seems too difficult. This connection between the mind, decision-making, and the impact turns out to be a bridge to the invisible, yet powerful, which connects to the things that we think that we live in. When we align our actions with a growth mindset and purpose, everything will become more clear, lighter in weight as much as possible. And in the process, we have begun to realize that the choices we make daily are like the seeds sown on the soil of the future of our world. Each and every one of them has the potential to grow a remarkable, since he cultivated with care, courage, and a clear vision of what is truly important. It is a true art of living, which requires the full attention and a provision to evolve and to reinvent itself. On the day of the transformation, no matter how challenging it may be, it is also one of the experiences and knowledge that we have. Because it connects us with our essence, to take care of it reveals the impact we cause to those around us and make us to understand that it all begins within ourselves. When we are in line with this fact, the possibilities are expanded, the obstacles become stepping stones, and the impact that we leave on the world is no longer something foreign and has become an extension of our own personal growth. And once you understand this dynamic, we are becoming more and more motivated to deepen that connection and explore the behind the scenes of this transformation and to look at the signs that are yet to come. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we begin to realize that all the things that we believe to be outside, in fact, it is a direct reflection of what we carry in-house." This finding, even though it may seem simple at first glance, this is one of the most powerful in that you can do on a journey of self-discovery. When we look at the impact that we want to generate, and often we become caught up in the idea that it depends on the factors such as resources, opportunities, and recognition. But in essence, all of this is a byproduct of our minds, out of our daily decisions, and in particular, the connection that you have established with our deepest truth. To understand our actions and decisions are inextricably linked to what we believe about ourselves, we begin to realize that real change comes not from an external force, but an internal change. And that change doesn't happen from one minute to the next. It is a process of the construction of a continuous, from the small decisions that add up to create a long-term impact. It's like a seed that can be planted with care and will grow quietly, often invisible to the eye, even if you turn it into a sturdy tree, which provides shade, fruit, and a whole new perspective of the world to all those around him. The inside of this journey and behind the scenes of the transformation shows that the major revelations are not in the big events or moments of high drama, but in the small choices you make on a day-to-day. Each and every decision to keep a positive outlook and to learn something new, practice gratitude, or to challenge a belief in limitation is the one step that builds on our mind. And to strengthen our minds, we open up space for a chance to be there seem to be unattainable. It's kind of a knock-on effect. A change in the internal drives an external change, which in turn feeds into a new layer of self-confidence and clarity. The most fascinating part of this us is to realize that when we are aligned with the truth of who we are the main agents of our own, a transformation, and the impact that it left on the world will cease to be a heavy responsibility, and it becomes a natural legacy. We understand that the impact is based on a state of the fullness of a mindset that fosters the continued growth and authenticity. At this point, all that would seem to be an obstacle if it turns into a learning opportunity, a chance to strengthen our resilience, or discover a new perspective that you did not have before seen. In the background of this understanding takes us on a journey of revelations contained, where in each step it reveals a truth that is hidden, on a different aspect of ourselves that we had yet to explore. And it is in this movement of self-discovery that we have found the very strength to carry on, even in the face of difficulties. After all, it is the transformation that is not a final destination, but a journey of continuous one that challenges us to become ever more conscious, more authentic, and more connected to the things that really matter. And again, this is part of a story that only comes into its own in your practice. I just wanted to leave a thought. Many of the times, and the thing that keeps us from moving forward, is our own resistance to change accounts. And then, once we accept that strength as part of this process, we begin to realize that she too has a role and a message that needs to be listened to with great attention. It is in this dialogue quiet between what you want and what you feel. You have found the key to unlock the next level of our journey. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the strength that we feel is often seen as an obstacle, a barrier to be overcome at any cost. But in fact, it's so much more to it than that. It serves as an early warning system, is a sign that something in us needs to be examined in more detail. It is as if it were an internal compass, indicating that there are some areas in the interior who are not yet ready to move or carry the emotions, beliefs, or experiences that had not been resolved. And when you understand it, the resistance is no longer an enemy and an ally for our transformation. The journey to self-knowledge and shows that sometimes our decisions are shaped by the dialogue of the internal resistance. It can manifest itself as a nagging doubt, a sense of insecurity, or a desire to get away from what is true for us. And in it, we see that the resistance to load of a story, of a truth, it hides what needs to be revealed to you. It may be that it is related to the Medes, the ancient founder of the beliefs that we have inherited from the family, or to past experiences that have profoundly marked our self-esteem. They are layered with a narrative that has often not even been able to identify it right away, but it influences each and every decision that we make. When you dive in deeper, you start to realize that strength is not a sign of weakness, but an opportunity for growth. Each of the resistance, which is a door that opens to a better understanding of who we are of the truth and what you really want. It is at this point that the I inside, it becomes of fundamental importance. The more we allow ourselves to listen to this resistance, the more we can understand what she wants to say to us. It may be that it is calling for a change in the root, a decision that we are not yet ready to take up, even a part of ourselves that needs to be heard. And this is where it comes to the importance of being honest with ourselves. Many times we ignore these signals or to rationalize them, telling them that it's just a phase, or is it the fear will pass? But in fact, to ignore it is like trying to extinguish a light that insists on the need to blink. She can become stronger, more insistent, until it can no longer be ignored. So, the key is to pause, take a deep breath, and ask ourselves, what is this strength that is willing to show me? It is a part of me is still a resistance to something that, if I accept it, I can take you to a new level of understanding and freedom. When you look more deeply into the inner dialogue, we can find the layers of emotion that not even realize it exists. You may continue the old one, with a question about your self-worth or guilt still weighs on your heart. And then, when you recognize these feelings, we take a giant step in the direction of healing. After all, it's the true transformation happens when we are faced with what scares us, when we receive that gets on our nerves, and, above all, when we learn to trust in the process. Because, on a journey of self-discovery, each of the resistance of a piece of the puzzle that, once seated, you reveal a part of our deepest truth. And this is the truth, the more it hides it may seem, there is always a way. She challenges us to look beyond the surface, to the question of what we have been taught, and to find out the strength within us to move forward even in the face of fear. And in doing so, we begin to realize that each challenge, each of the resistance, it's a chance to rewrite our history and transforming limitations into opportunities and strengthen your core. Thus, the impact of this understanding echoes through the whole of our journey to shape a mindset more resilient and more in line with what we really are. And in the process, it became clear that the key is not to fight against the strong, but to understand it, accept it, and especially to learn from it. Because deep down, each of the resistance, this is a message from our deepest self, a revelation that, if you listen carefully, you can take us to levels of consciousness that before seemed to be unattainable. And it is precisely at this point that we begin to discover all the behind the scenes of our transformation. One discovers that the real change happens from the inside to the outside, and with a spirit of courage, integrity, honesty, and a generous serving of curiosity. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the true essence of this journey, which is currently the courage to confront the things that a lot of times we would prefer to avoid. It is as if, for the back of the resistance, had been hidden away in a part of the US which has not yet been accepted, it is understood and integrated. And, in the process, you start to realize that your strength is not that of an enemy, but rather a sign, a message, with our own universes built, and the opportunity for growth in the parade. When you stop to think about it, it must be noted that this sense of strength emerges in times of change, decision-making, in an attempt to break through old patterns that no longer serve us anymore. It seems that, subconsciously, most of us try to keep us in your comfort zone, even if it is narrower, more limited. So, instead of thinking that the resistance as a bad thing, we can begin to see it as a gateway to self-knowledge, as a kind of warning that invites you to explore what's behind it. When we dive in deeper, we found that the resistance to it often carries a burden of emotional heavy, fear of failure, concerns about self-worth, self-doubt, the face of the unknown, and in most cases, these feelings are rooted in the experiences of the past, and the stories that we tell ourselves that we're not able to, or that we don't deserve anything better. It is as if these limiting beliefs are the true guardians of our choices, keeping us trapped in cycles of auto-sabotage. And at the same time, this resistance is revealed as an opportunity to rewrite these stories, the question of the validity of one of them, and creating a new narrative and a more empowering. After all, the whole of true transformation requires a certain courage to face what is hidden, to challenge our own certainties, and to make room for a new version of ourselves. At this point in time, we begin to understand that change is not an external event, but rather a journey on the inside. And, in order to make this journey something that is sustainable, you need to have a mindset of lifelong learning, to the acceptance of an error and in celebration of small victories. Because you are, in essence, each of the resistance is losing. It's an achievement that builds confidence and prepares you to take on even greater challenges. And it is in this movement of self-discovery, which began to understand the signs that the universe provides us with, and often disguised by obstacles. Each obstacle is, in fact, it is an invitation to grow and develop, is a sign that we are on the right path, even though it may seem difficult at the time. And to understand this, we have gained a new perspective and a broad view of the impact that our decisions have on our track record of growth. If you go more in depth on this understanding, we realize that the real transformation will also involve a change in the way we deal with that all the time. Many times we get caught in the illusion that the change has to happen all at once. The progress is not linear and right away, but the reality is quite different. It shows you step by step, as small as it may seem to you. It's part of a larger mosaic in progress, and that is the inclusion of these resistors as part of this process. We were able to create a greater connection with our inner selves. Strengthen our intention is to keep going, even when you are not sure. After all, it is the persistence, the courage to continue that can be found in the behind the scenes of a real transformation, to a place where vulnerability is seen as a strength, where the self becomes an extremely powerful tool, and where hope is renewed with each new insight. In the face of all of this, it is clear that the journey is not just about achieving a goal, an external, but to turn to who we are on the way. It's a constant evolution, a discovery, a constant in our abilities. It requires an open mind and an open heart, willing to accept that there is a more in-depth in itself. And while you navigate through the territory and domestic, we can see that all of it is a gateway to a better understanding and an opportunity to be free of the old paradigm and embracing the freedom that comes from the inside out. So every discovery, every revelation, every step forward takes us a little closer to the core of who we most truly, that it had always been there. Just waiting for it, we have the courage to listen to it. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this topic." You know, when we begin to explore that journey to the interior, a lot of times, we are faced with a truth hidden for decades, had been hidden under the layers of the opinions of others. Limiting beliefs and patterns are inherited. It is as if, for a long time, we have been living in a kind of haze, which is where the true essence seemed to get lost among the noise outside and the expectations for that, too often, or they were our own in fact. It is this revelation that emerges in the moment of connection with oneself is, in fact, the very first step to a real transformation, one that goes beyond the surface and gets to the core of who we are. When you dive into the process of self-discovery, we found that the resistance that we've seen many times, that this is not something external, but an internal struggle. It is our own fear of being authentic. We show you the vulnerable, and to let go of a mask for so long, use it to please or to fit into a social pattern. This resistance is, in fact, a bridge that connects you to who we were, to who we really can become. Every doubt, every insecurity, and serves as a sign that there is something there, just waiting to be revealed to you, an aspect of our soul that has not yet been fully understood or accepted. And, in the process of breaking old beliefs, we can begin to understand the impact of our decision-making is so much greater than we might have previously thought. This is not just a choice of momentary, but a true transformation in our way of thinking. When you stop to think about what you really want to do, we hear a voice clear, You will direct us to the ways that best align with our inner selves. This new approach gives us the strength to be silent. It's like a light that illuminates the behind the scenes of our minds, revealing the patterns and the beliefs that before were invisible. This is where everything changes, and we see that true freedom is born from within, out of a conscious choice to leave what no longer serves and to embrace what really makes us tick. To understand this dynamic, we can begin to see that each and every step in our journey of self-discovery, it is an opportunity to rewrite our story. Each and every choice made on the basis of a deeper understanding of who we are. You have the power to impact not only our lives, but also to the people around you. And with this revelation, many times, it is accompanied by a feeling of lightness, of relief. Only those who have already gone through this process and is able to understand it. It's like when you break free from the shackles and invisible in the past, and you could finally breathe for the truth, completeness, and courage. However, there is still a layer for you to explore, and a much deeper connection with what we call our true essence. And it is precisely this layer that I want to unwrap it now, because she is the guardian of the secrets of the most valuable in this journey. This connection allows us to see that the transformation is not a straight line, but a spiral that leads to ever higher levels of understanding. Each revelation becomes another opportunity for growth, and in so doing, we can begin to understand that life is, in its essence and pure, it's made up of choices, from the times of the wake-up call that puts us in touch with the latest and genuine in all of us. For this reason, to understand, in these scenes, the built-in key so that we can truly evolve, it is not just on the surface, but in a way that echoes in every aspect of our lives. This is a journey of self-transformation in fact, it is a silent revolution, which takes place in the detail, the small daily decisions, the actions we take without even realizing how much they have to shape our own destiny. And the more we go deeper in the understanding, the more we realize that there is nothing external that can get us out of this type of connection with our deepest truth. After all, it's always been there, just waiting for that we have the courage to listen to it. And so we went with an open heart for you to discover new layers of ourselves, knowing that the revelation is a key piece in the puzzle that is our life. Every step in the direction of authenticity, it's a celebration, an affirmation of what we are capable of creating a reality that is aligned with our values and our dreams and our lives. And at the same time, their journey reveals that the biggest impact is on the decision to let go of all that binds us, of all the things that don't make sense, and that, in fact, it has already fulfilled its function. This is a genuine internal revolution, which brings us to the freedom that nobody can take away from us, as long as you have the courage to look within and to accept that we find over there. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." So, when you get there, it's as if we had been given a very important step in this journey of self-discovery and transformation. Each and every time for reflection and decision-making to leave behind the things that no longer serves us helps us to feel lighter, more in line with who you really are. This is the freedom that we have earned in the US, to break free from that which no longer makes sense, for it to be an achievement of daily, which is a process that requires courage and patience, but in the end, it is all worth it. If you've read this far, I want to invite you to continue on this journey with us. Subscribe to the channel for more content to you that can help you in the better understanding of these pathways. Have you ever noticed how much of these issues can make a difference in their lives, right? Then, leave it here in the comments. "I'm with you till the end," or any phrase that shows that this message is for you. This helps to create a stronger connection, and it makes all the difference for our return. Oh, and he's like, "It comes from a genuine connection, it is also to be welcomed, for it shows that the path that we are walking together, it makes sense for you." And of course, it doesn't stop there. There's a video right here on the side which complements this subject. You can click and keeps me up there. So we'll just keep it together in the quest for a better understanding, easier, and more freedom to be who you really are.